best.
Your job's a joke, you broke. Your love life's the away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you.
Hi, I'm Tina.
And I'm Nancy, and we're going to demonstrate Nearpod. This is much more than a multimedia presentation tool. It enables 100% student participation and provides formative assessment data for teachers. We're so excited to show you this tool. To begin your Nearpod, you can just go to nearpod.com. The first time you get here, you can create a free teacher account, and then you can simply sign up with Google. You can let it know that you're a teacher. Students can use it as well. Once you have your account created, then you can just go to sign in, log in with your Google account. And it's going to take you right in, ready to create great interactive presentations.
Now that you're logged into Nearpod, we're going to take a look at the Explore section. Within Explore, you will find lots of lessons that have already been made. A quick search will let you know if the topic you're looking for has resources available. For this demonstration, I'm going to search for equivalent fractions. I'm going to utilize the filter to select Free, Subject, and the grade level. Here you will find lessons that apply to the topic you would like to cover. Select the lesson you want to see and preview it to determine if you want to use it with your students. Once you decide on the lesson you want to use, click Add to My Library and then Show in My Library. Here you will see the lesson is now available for you to use. My Library is where you can access all of the Nearpod lessons you've chosen. If you have a large volume of lessons in your library, using the Search and Sort functions will help you find what you need quickly. My Library is also where you go if you would like to edit your lesson or start creating a new one.
I'm going to demo how to create a lesson completely from scratch. I'll click the Create button, give my lesson a title, Oceans in this case. I'm going to click Add Slide. Here we have three choices: Add Content, Add Web Content, and Add Activity. The web content is only available if you purchase the premium edition, so we're going to skip that. The Add Content is where you're going to add the bulk of your lesson. The slides, the graphics, the audio, if you add video, and all that sort of thing. The Add Activity part is what we're going to come back to in a little while. That is where we can make it interactive for the students to participate. So we're going to start with Add Content. Here I have some more choices, and we'll touch on some of these. Some of these again are only available if you purchase the premium edition. The one that you'll use most is the one called Slide. So we'll start with that. I'll click Slide, and here I can give my slide a title. I'll just say Oceans again. I can add more text, or if I don't want this text box, I can hit the trash can and remove it. Here I can add an image, and I can add images from my computer or from my Google Drive, Dropbox, Cloud, or I can come up here to the Google search and type in oceans. Maybe I want to say ocean waves, and I can click on a picture and hit save, and that's going to pop it into my slide. I can add audio as well. If I've already got an audio file, I've got one on my hard drive, I'm going to click on upload, and it is in my music folder. It's a sound wave. So now I can click on that, and I'll have sound with my picture. I can save this, and that will be my first slide, and it will be in my slideshow so far. So I've got one slide, and if I hit Add Slide, I can begin to add another slide. I'll hit add content again, add slide again, and now I can continue adding slides in this method. I'm going to go ahead and add, I don't want this title, so I'm going to remove those. I'm going to add another image. This time maybe I want one of a shark. Let's put that in there. And I'm going to save that one. So now I've got a couple of slides in my lesson. I'm going to hit add slide again, add content. This time, instead of adding another slide, I want you to notice another option called 3D. This is new, and this is pretty cool. This has over 100 immersive 3D objects that you can pull up, and they've got them categorized. I'm going to pick on environment, and here's a shark. I'm going to preview that, and this allows me to rotate and pan around and zoom in on objects, and I can even do that just in the preview. So it's a really cool new feature, and they're continually adding more objects to this. So I'll hit done, and so that'll be my third slide in this project. I can hit add slide again and add content again, and just show you quickly some of the other features. Sway is Microsoft Office's version of a digital storytelling program. Some of these other ones are only available with the premium. You can add videos, audios. Some of the other things, again, you have to pay for. Once we have all the slides that we need in our lesson, we can preview this, or we can hit create. If we just go ahead and preview it, this is what it's going to look like so far. We have, it's generating, we have our slide 1, which is our picture, and notice our sound automatically plays when we're on that slide. We'll go to the next slide, and we'll click on the next slide. And the third one is our one that we can spin around that came from the 3D, which is really neat. And let's zoom in on Jaws here. So let me zoom back out. We'll close our preview. And again, we could continue adding slides, but let's, for the sake of time, we're going to stop there, and we'll hit create. And we've already got our lesson title. We could put in more descriptions if we want. Let's say it's for 3rd grade. Let's say the subject is science. And we'll hit save and exit. And this puts this lesson that we created into our library. So here it is. We can also organize our library. Notice I've got a few folders I already created, but if we hit this new button, this is where we can go and create a folder, and we give it a name and so on. I've already got a science folder, so let's say I want to move it into the science folder. When I hover my mouse over my lesson, I see these 3 dots. That allows me to add them to my folder. If I click add, then I can choose science, add, and it puts it in my science folder. And here's some of the other ones I have in there. And I have the preview button, I have the edit button. If I want to go back in and add more slides or make any changes, that's what I do. When we notice when we hover over it, you have a student paste and a live lesson. Once we get into the activities and have some more content in there, we're going to show you what these buttons do and what that looks like on a student screen. So that is how you create it and organize it into your library. What if you already have presentations that you've created using PowerPoint or Smartboard? Can you take those and make them interactive using Nearpod? Absolutely. So what you can do is you still go to create, but rather than creating from scratch each individual slide, you can click add slide, add content, and slide, and now you can import slides from another presentation. So if I want to take an existing presentation, for example, I've already got a PowerPoint that I want to use or a notebook activity that I want to use, it's easy to take those presentations and bring them into Nearpod to make it interactive for your students. For example, here's a presentation I've done in PowerPoint. If I open that presentation, and then here's all of my slides, I can go to File, Save As, I'll save it to my desktop, And instead of a PowerPoint presentation, I saved these as JPEG slides. And I hit save. It's going to ask me, do I want to export all the slides or just the one? And I want all the slides. It's going to make a separate folder with the same name as my PowerPoint, and it's going to have individual slides, and here it is. It's got the same name as the PowerPoint, but now it's a folder with each slide from that PowerPoint as a JPEG file. So with that in mind, now I can go back to my Nearpod presentation, and when I click on image, I'm going to upload from that folder on my desktop. So it was geographic regions, the folder, and I want all the slides. So if I click the first one and then scroll down to my last one and hold down the shift key and click the last one, it's going to select all of them. So that's going to take all of those. And I have a choice here. Do I want them as a slideshow or separate slides? And I do want them as separate slides. So that's going to take all of the JPEGs from my PowerPoint and dump them into my Nearpod for me. And it takes a minute because there were several of them. And it just dumped them in there. So here we go. So now I have a Nearpod. All of the slides that I already had from my PowerPoint are now in my Nearpod lesson. So it's very simple to do that. And I'll demonstrate how you can do it with Smartboard activities. If you have an existing Smartboard lesson, I'll open up Smartboard. You're going to do pretty much the same thing. If you're in your Smartboard presentation, if you click File, and in Smartboard it's called Export As. If you hit Export As, Image Files, and here you name the folder and you hit OK, and it's going to do the same thing. You'll have a folder full of all of these slides, and then you could just dump them all right into your Nearpod. I took my existing PowerPoint on maps and regions and I dumped it all into my Nearpod presentation. I'm going to go back and edit this. It imported all of my slides from my PowerPoint because I had made them into JPEGs. Now I'm ready to add some additional slides to make it interactive. So I'm going to hit Add Slide, but this time, instead of Add Content, I'm going to choose Add Activity. Maybe I want to add an open-ended question, so we'll look at that one first. I'll just click on Open-Ended Question and type in my question. Question is, which region do we live in? Describe it. Then I can hit Save. It's as simple as that to add a question. It does put the question at the bottom of my list. I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see it. So down here is my question, but I can easily move it. I just drag it up and set it beside the slide that I want it to come after. Next, I'm going to add slide again, add another activity. I'll let you see what a poll looks like. I'm going to click on Poll. I'll just ask, have you ever been to the Tidewater? Tidewater area, and I will say Virginia Beach area. And make it a yes or no. And we can gauge right away, have they ever seen it for themselves? I'll hit Save. And again, it's going to put it at the end of all my slides, and I just need to grab it and drag it and drop it where I want. This time I'm going to put it right next to my Tidewater slide. Next I'm going to hit Add Slide, Add Activity. Maybe this time I'm going to do a quiz. I'll ask which is true about the Piedmont. It's flat with lots of water, it has very high mountains and valleys, or it has gentle rolling hills. I'm going to give it a title. Quick quiz. And we need to tell it which one is the correct answer. I asked about the Piedmont, so it's the gentle rolling hills. And I will hit Save. Again, I had to drag it to the place I want it, and this time I'm putting it after, I'll put it after my questions about Piedmont, right there. Another activity we can do, we'll go back to add activity, is a draw it. And this is pretty neat. We can have them draw completely from scratch in this screen, give them some directions. We can put in a diagram and then have them label it, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag an image here, or upload my image. I've got it in my files. I have a picture of a blank map that I'm going to put in there. And I'm going to have them label the Piedmont with a P. I'll say label the coastal plain with a C, maybe circle the Appalachian Plateau, and I've got my map that they can write on. So then I can say save. And it's going to upload the file and add this to my questions. If I went back to the Add Content and Add Activity button, you'll see the first items, the first 4 items are the ones we've covered, and the rest of them are only going to be available if you purchase the premium version. Now that we've created our Nearpod lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how you can present the lesson and have your students engage in it. So I've got my lesson created, so I'm going to go to my library to find it. And notice I have 2 screens up here. I've got my student screen and my teacher screen over on the right. So I'm going to go to my lesson on Virginia regions. Notice I have a live lesson and a student paced lesson. The student paced is only available if you purchase the premium edition. So I'm going to go to the live version, and it's going to bring up a choice. We can give the students this code and have them go to nearpod.com and enter the code, or a simpler way would be to click Google Classroom. It works seamlessly through Google Classroom. So if we click that, all we have to do is select the class we want to present it to. Right now I'm going to present it to this class. I can add it as an assignment or an announcement. I'll just make it an assignment and hit go. I just have to give it a title. Since it's on Virginia regions, I'll put Virginia regions as my title, and I just hit assign. It's as easy as that. This will give the students access to this Nearpod. So I'm just going to close this window, and now I'm in my Nearpod. On the teacher screen, I'm ready to present my presentation. On the student screen, I'm going to update my student screen for a minute, and you can see now they have the assignment. And all they have to do is click on the link that I just provided for them, and it takes them straight into my lesson. They don't have to enter any code. All they have to do is type in their name. Let's just be Bob for this assignment. I'll hit send, and now their screen matches the teacher screen, and they see it right in front of them, as well as if it's on the smart board, it's right in front of them. However, the teacher is controlling the screen. If I click on the teacher screen over here on the right to go to the next slide, you can see it automatically moved the student screen at the same time. So it's right in front of them. They can't go anywhere else. I'm going to hit the next slide, and I can see this is the first type of activity that we put into the presentation. This was an open-ended question. Which region do we live in? So I can put in Piedmont, and they're supposed to also describe it. Let's just say rolling hills. And then the student hits the send button. As soon as they do that, the student gets the thank you, and the teacher sees immediately what the student's response is. So Bob says it's Piedmont and rolling hills, and I can, as I have other students, I will see all of their responses down below. I'm going to hit the arrow and go to the next slide, and we would just go on through the PowerPoint or slideshow just like that. Here's the next question or activity we put in there. Have you ever been to the Tidewater area? This was an example of a poll, so I'll just say yes and hit send. Immediately on the teacher screen, I'll see all of my students' responses. So Bob, there we go, Bob said yes, And again, I've only got one student in this class, but if I had more, I would see them all listed here, and I could see what percent said yes, what percent said no. And I'm going to hit the next slide, and we would go on through our presentation in this fashion. So let me just scroll through until I get to the next activity question. This time, this was an example of a quiz question, which is true about the Piedmont. It has general rolling hills, and I only put one question in this quiz, but you could put as many as you wanted. I'll hit the send button, and again on the right side on the teacher screen, since this one was actually a quiz, it knows whether there's a correct answer, so it knows that C is the correct answer. So we can quickly see, all right, Bob's got 100% so far, and as other students entered their responses, I would see their results as well. I'm going to click on the next slide and go on through this process until we get to the last question. And this is that drawing question that we put in there, where we insert a blank map and the student just has to label it. So the student on their side, they have options. They can insert an actual image if they want, they can erase, they can enter text, they can enter pencil or writing tools. I'm just going to choose a pen and choose a color. Let's make it blue. I'm supposed to enter a P for Piedmont, a C for coastal. I'm supposed to circle Appalachian Plateau, so I'll choose a different color for that one, and I'm gonna try to get that out of my way. Wait, it's not good. And I'm gonna circle Appalachian Plateau. So the drawing's not the best, but hopefully you get the idea. I'm gonna hit send, and on the teacher's side, I'll be able to see all my students' maps. They'll pop up here in just a minute. Here it comes. So I can see Bob's map, and if I have a student who did a particularly nice job with their drawing or their labeling, I could click on it and I could hit this share button. And this is also true for the other questions. I can hit share at any time, and the students' work will be displayed on all the other students' computers. And so that's a way to demonstrate students' activities, the students' work as well. When I'm done sharing, I can hit unshare. When I'm through with this slide, I can hit close, and then I would continue with my slideshow. That was the end of this particular slideshow. So I can click where it says Nearpod, and I can immediately go to reports, and I can see, it also sends it to my email, by the way, and I can see the results. And if I want to end this session, I'm just going to go ahead and click on end session. And am I sure? Yes. So on the teacher's side, it takes me back to my library, and on the student side, it just tells me my session has ended, at which point the student could close out of Nearpod, and then they could just go right back to their Google Classroom screen. Once I have presented a lesson, I can go down and see the reports. If I click on the Home button and the Reports button, I'll be able to see all the presentations I've done at different times with my students. Here's the one that we just did, Virginia Regions. I have 22 slides, and if I click on that particular lesson, I can see the different sessions I've presented. I just did this one today, and I only had one student in it, but I'll click on that. Our student was Bob, so we'll just see how Bob did. For this presentation, if I look at the quiz, I'll see the quiz question, and if I click on the arrow, it's going to show me the actual question and each student's name and how they did, whether they got the answers correct. If I click on poll, same thing. I just click on the arrow, and here's Bob's response. And if I had other students in my class, I would see all of them listed here and all of their responses. The open-ended question tells me the question, hit the arrow, here's all the students' responses, and it also provides me graphs each time. If I click on the draw it and the arrow, here's all the students, and there'll be a little tiny picture of their drawing. And if I just want to see it bigger, I can click on it and it's going to make it big, and then I can see them up close. So I'm going to close that out. Notice it keeps track of every time I present a lesson. So there's the one that we just did. And then if I close this, I can see other lessons from previous dates. Even from a year ago, I still have lessons down here that I can go back and see what my students' responses were.
This is a great tool, and we really hope you'll take advantage of it, since it does get your kids more engaged in your presentations. See your darts if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching.